What would you do if you suddenly met your childhood hero in the most unexpected place? For 12-year-old David Jones, that dream became a reality in the aisles of a Walmart on a quiet Saturday afternoon. David wasn't just any wrestling fan. He had idolized John Cena for years, watching every match, wearing his merchandise, and living by his famous motto, "Never give up." That day, as he shopped with his mom, he wandered into the toy section, eager to grab a wrestling box set from the top shelf. But just as he stretched to reach it, he lost his balance and fell hard onto the cold tile floor. Before he could even process what had happened, a strong, familiar hand reached down to help him up. As he looked up, his eyes widened in shock. It was John Cena himself. At that moment, David's world stood still. He wasn't just meeting his hero. He was about to learn a lesson that would stay with him forever. Stick around to hear the full story of this unforgettable encounter. 12-year-old David Jones from Dover, Delaware, was like any other kid his age, except for one thing: he lived and breathed professional wrestling. And to him, there was no one greater than John Cena. Ever since he was 5, David had watched every match, memorized every move, and even practiced Cena's iconic entrance in his backyard. His bedroom walls were covered with WWE posters, and his closet was filled with Cena t-shirts, hats, and wristbands. More than just a wrestler, Cena was his hero, his source of inspiration. David admired not only his strength in the ring, but also his message, "Never give up." That phrase meant everything to him. One Saturday afternoon, David and his mom, Charlotte, made their usual trip to Walmart. It was their weekend routine, picking up groceries, browsing through the aisles, and for David, stopping by his favorite section, wrestling DVDs and action figures. As they entered the store, David's mind was already racing, thinking about which new DVD he would add to his collection. Little did he know, this shopping trip was about to turn into the most unforgettable day of his life. As David and his mom strolled down the aisles of Walmart, David's mind was focused on one thing: wrestling DVDs. "Mom, can I get some new wrestling DVDs today?" he asked, his voice filled with excitement. Charlotte, always supportive of his passion, smiled and nodded. "Sure, David, you can pick out a few," she replied, pushing the cart ahead while scanning the shelves for what they needed. But David's attention had already shifted. He was drawn to the toy section, where rows of wrestling action figures and merchandise were on display. His heart raced as he saw some new Cena figures, but there was something else on the top shelf that caught his eye: a special edition DVD box set of his favorite matches. Without thinking, David left his mom's side and rushed over to grab it. Standing on his tiptoes, he reached as high as he could, his fingers brushing the edge of the box, but it was just out of his grasp. Determined, he stretched even further, leaning into the shelf, but as he tried one last time to pull it down, his foot slipped on the smooth tile floor. In an instant, his balance gave out, and he fell, crashing to the ground with a sharp thud. Pain shot through his knees, and for a split second, everything around him felt distant. He could barely process what had happened. David winced as he sat on the cold tile floor, his knees aching from the fall. Before he could even think about getting up, a strong, warm hand reached down toward him. His eyes slowly traveled up the arm, and the moment he saw the face looking down at him, his breath caught in his throat. It was John Cena. For a split second, David's mind refused to believe it. This had to be a dream, right? John Cena, his hero, standing right in front of him, inside a Walmart. His mouth opened, but no words came out. He just stared, frozen in complete shock. Cena chuckled, his familiar deep voice snapping David back to reality. "Hey, you all right, kid?" he asked, his tone friendly and full of concern. David's heart pounded as he quickly nodded, still too stunned to speak. He had spent years watching Cena on TV, mimicking his moves, and imagining what it would be like to meet him one day. And now, here he was. Cena wasn't just some larger-than-life superstar on a screen. He was real, standing inches away, helping him up like they had known each other forever. David could barely find his voice as he stood up, still gripping John Cena's hand. His mind was racing, his heart pounding in his chest. "You're John Cena," he finally stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. Then, as if the realization truly hit him all at once, he blurted out, "I'm your biggest fan. I've watched every match, every promo. I can't believe this is happening." Cena smiled, clearly used to reactions like this, but still genuinely appreciative. "That's awesome, man," he said. "Wrestling is a lot of fun, but it's the fans like you that make it all worth it." His words made David's heart swell with pride. He wasn't just another kid in the crowd. Cena was talking to him, acknowledging his passion. Still feeling like he was in a dream, David suddenly remembered the reason he had fallen in the first place. He glanced up at the top shelf, where the special edition wrestling DVD set still sat just out of reach. Cena followed his gaze, then, without hesitation, reached up and grabbed the box. "Was this what you were after?" he asked, handing it to David with a grin. David nodded, his hands trembling slightly as he took it. "Thank you, John. This means so much," he said, still struggling to process everything. Just then, his mom appeared, pushing the cart toward them. "David, what happened? I heard—" Her words caught in her throat as she looked up and saw who was standing next to her son. Her eyes widened in shock. "Oh my gosh! John Cena?" Cena gave her a friendly nod. "Yes, ma'am," he said with a smile. Charlotte turned to David, who was still clutching the DVD set like it was the most precious thing in the world. "Do you know what this means?" she asked, her voice full of excitement. David didn't need to answer. He already knew. This was the greatest moment of his life. John Cena took the DVD box from David's hands, pulled a marker from his pocket, and with a quick flourish, signed his name across the cover. "Here you go, buddy," he said, handing it back. "Keep this as a reminder to never stop chasing your dreams." David's fingers traced over the signature, his heart pounding with excitement. It was one thing to meet his hero, but to have a personal autograph, and those words of encouragement, made it even more special. But Cena wasn't done yet. He reached up, took off his cap, the same one he had worn in his last match, and placed it on David's head. David's breath caught in his throat. "Wait, this is your hat?" Cena grinned. "Yep, and now it's yours." David could barely believe what was happening. He adjusted the cap, feeling like the luckiest kid in the world. "Thank you, John," he whispered, still in shock. Later that evening, after the excitement of the day had settled, David sat in his room, still replaying every moment over and over again. He held the signed DVD in his hands, but it was the cap that felt the most personal. As he turned it over, something caught his eye. Inside, written in bold marker, was a message in Cena's handwriting. "Never give up. Always believe in yourself. No matter the odds, the greatest victories come from the toughest battles." David read the words again and again, letting them sink in. Cena's message wasn't just about wrestling, it was about life. And at that moment, David knew that this wasn't just the best day of his life. It was a lesson he would carry with him forever. As David sat in his room, holding the cap and rereading Cena's message, he realized something important. Meeting his hero had been incredible, but it wasn't just about getting an autograph or a gift. It was about the lesson behind it. Cena had always been more than a wrestler. He was someone who stood for perseverance, kindness, and believing in yourself no matter what. And now, David truly understood that. True champions aren't just great in the ring, but in life too. Did this story inspire you? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing moments like this. Thanks for watching, and remember, never give up.